Rebirth Island has saved Warzone, but the map is full of secrets that the sweats don't want uncovered. Secret jumps, easy loadouts, and even a way to see through smoke. Send this video to your squad and prepare to dominate the island next session with these 21 secrets on Rebirth Island that you'll wish you knew sooner. And make sure you stay to the end because tip 21 will literally win you games. But a quick warning, if you've still never had a 20 kill game, after watching this video it might feel too easy.
Come on, man! That's too easy!
Stacking has been a major issue since the launch of Warzone 2.
Ammo bad. His teammates. I got two knocks. There's still two! There's four in there! Watch the kill cam!
With the rooftop of prison being a major rat spot. To combat this, you can use the Stair Glitch. It's this simple. If you go to the top of a staircase and then go prone, the enemy will barely see the top of your head. Now, you don't want to crawl towards the top of the steps though. Instead, you want to slowly creep down as much as possible while still being able to see out of the doors. This works on almost any staircase with depth, and even though it's cheesy, it's my go-to way of getting an opening knock before fighting a team that's stacking. You can also use this tip on areas like the tents by living quarters, or my favorite, the windows on prison roof. Just lay down and crawl backwards and you will be nearly impossible to kill. And this is especially great when people are chasing you. Turn and drop shot on a staircase to get the easiest kill of your life. What sets Warzone apart from the other battle royales is your unique custom loadout, and getting your loadout early can lead to high kill games and easy wins, yet so many people still don't know that there is a plethora of ways to get a loadout right as soon as you land. For starters, there are 3 key cards that give you loadouts and money. One is right here at Grandma's house, the other is next door to Factory on this shelf, and the last one is at bioweapons in the basement. You just have to pull this string and then wait for it. From there, head to Stronghold and place the key cards in the corresponding lockbox. Card at Factory is the easiest, as you can grab it and then immediately hit the ATV outside and drive to the safe. From Grandma's, you can easily fly down to Stronghold, and from bioweapons there is either a zip tower or the heli that spawns in the field by prison. If you're not feeling that process, you can always go scan your eyeballs at one of the scanners around the map, and if you get a polyatomic keycard, you can purchase up to 5 free loadouts. But even if you just get gold or platinum keycards, you're going to receive money when you take those to the buy, among other things like an advanced UAV or dead silence or ammo or perks, and you'll even get a bonus to your keycard luck if your teammates come and stand with you at the scanner. It only takes a few seconds and it could help jumpstart your entire game. Now, tip 3 has a similar concept. If you're not feeling the whole keycard thing and you still want to get a quick loadout, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but start landing at Factory. If you keep dying and you need a new spot to land to try and get your weapons and your loadout and money, Factory is the answer. Somehow nobody seems to really know this, but at Factory in specific, every game, 100% of the time, the game will spawn multiple bags of cash with $5,000 each. These bags spawn on each level of Factory, from the basement to the roof, on the balconies, and even outside. Me and my team always land here because of this, and also because the rotations are great from Factory. We usually land here, find all the bags of cash, which is at least $20,000, buy a loadout and a few UAVs, and then terrorize the lobby. If you're good at the game but you can't seem to get 20 kills in a match because it's taken too long to loot up and get your loadout, Factory is where you should start dropping, and I'll see you there. So the theme of this video, as you'll notice, is putting all these tips together. These can all coincide each game, and once you start using them all, your KD is going to skyrocket. So now that you know where to land, tip number 4 is all about rotations. The best way to consistently get high kill games is to know which rotations to use. For example, at Factory, we land and get all the money, we get our loadout and UAVs, and then based on the UAVs, we rotate. Grandma's house is just a short stroll away. We can easily use the Gondola to get to prison fast. Harbor is next door, and so is living quarters. No matter where the action is, from Factory, you can get there quickly. If you like landing at bioweapons, you can zip to chem or hit the zipline outside and fly anywhere on the map that you'd like. Living quarters is also good for quick kills at the people who are down at Stronghold because they don't really have much of an option, they have to run straight to you. The main idea here is having spots that you're comfortable with to find quick kills and good loot. This not only helps with getting engagements, but it helps with building a feeling of comfortability, which matters much more than I think people realize. Pay attention to your rotations every game and try to remember which ones have gone well for you and try to keep using them. Here's a quick bonus tip for you guys. If you want easy lobbies that the streamers like Nyx to get to drop these world records, hit the top link in the description. It'll take you to SBMMOff's website where you could use code Rehtycs for a discount, and you simply just download the program and turn it on. And from there, you'll start getting easier lobbies. Not every single lobby will be easy, but occasional bot lobbies will pop up, and it works even better if you're playing with friends. So if you're sick of SBMM, hit the link in the description so you can turn it off. Back to the video. Now, if we're mid-game and you're constantly dying because you can't get a good gun or you hate landing and finding fighting snipers and then dying to enemies who land on their loadout crates, then you should memorize the blueprint spawns. For those that don't know, all over the map there will be blueprints spawn in the same spots every game, and here are a few of the best ones. At the basement of factory, this MCW spawns and it's built for mobility and it's a solid option from a distance. The lighthouse roof spawns an XRK, while the water tower will spawn a cat blueprint. These are good to land on in early games for quick kills. The prison courtyard spawns the old meta Rehtycs. Inside of prison is a fully auto shotgun called the Riveter, which is OP in early game, and at living quarters there's a decent SVA blueprint. If you're a control center demon, then grab this wasp swarm on the first floor for a head start on your enemies, and there are plenty of other solid blueprints that spawn, and I'll put a link in the description to the location of all of them. Alright, for tip 6, by now you've seen the insane plays that people make on zip lines, yet when you take a zip line, it's the slowest animation of all time, and then when you jump off of it at the top, you just hit your head and fall straight to the ground. Well, these cheating streamers have zipline hacks, and they're gonna be so mad that I spilled the beans on this. Okay, I'm kidding. Let's easily learn how to control these zipline animation. And trust me, it's so easy anyone can do it. The first zipline tip I have is never stand stationary and attached to the zip. If you instead jump into it and use it, you skip the long animation, and side by side you can see just how much faster it is. That's easy though, so just from now on, jump onto the zipline when you're attaching instead of standing still. The harder one to learn, which isn't actually hard but it seems like it, is making plays on the zipline like this. It looks complex, but it will only take you a few tries to get right. Once your player is nearing the top of the zipline, around 75% of the way up, release the zip by jumping off, and then immediately pull your left stick backwards, and then as you float to the top, push your left stick forward to land on top of it. If you want to switch it up, or if you just mess up, you can jump off of the zip and mantle up as well, but the most effective method is jumping off, pulling back on your movement, and then pushing forward to catch your opponents off guard, leading to some insane clips to show your friends. This works on all mounted zip lines around the map, so use this to your benefit. Speaking of ziplines, for tip number 7, did you know that you can now use the gondola as a zipline to the top of prison? You don't have to wait for it to get back to you anymore. You can also use it as a zipline to grandma's house, or harbor, or even just to go get high ground on factory. You can also use the side railings as a mean head glitch against harbor campers, or just use it to jump on top of the red roof building. You can of course also sit in the gondola normally and go to top prison to catch some people off guard. You can also lay down on top of the gondola for a sort of stair glitch and for better visibility.
A few moments later.
You can use the gondola platform for maneuverability and cover as well, and what I'm getting at is, for tip number 7, utilize the gondola. It is the single most underutilized thing in Warzone besides the entire Urzikstan map. Sorry BR enjoyers, but I do like to use the gondola during fire sales also to catch people at grandma's on the buy, or just try to catch them on their way up to prison for some easy kills. Mentioning fire sales brings me to tip number 8, so for the people who haven't noticed yet, there is a fire sale every single game on Rebirth Island at the 1 minute and 6 mark of the Zone 3 countdown. Oftentimes I have teammates with $10,000 or more who don't utilize fire sales. You could buy 3 UAVs, ensuring that for the next few minutes we know exactly where everyone is on the map. You could buy us a spare loadout, buy the entire team self-revives, etc. There's so many options, so stop saving that money like you can use it in real life, please. Also, if you didn't know that when a jailbreak happens, not only do your dead teammates and dead enemies come back to life, but your entire team will come back to life even if everyone's dead. So if you're in a bad spot and you see a jailbreak pop up, you can go be extra aggressive and try to get some kills, and if your entire team dies, that's okay because you'll spawn back in together. Also, the occupation scan public event is a great way to catch enemies off guard. If you hear somebody nearby during an occupation scan and then they stop moving and lay down, this is the perfect chance to pounce on them while they wait for the timer. You know they're sitting still staring at their map, not expecting to be pushed by anyone, so leap on your prey before they can react. Discussing minimap pings brings me to tip number 9, and that is, every time you kill an opponent, look at your minimap. It will ping all of the teammates that they have, so start using it. I genuinely don't understand how people ignore this, and it will ping multiple times too, so you can predict where the enemy team is going. For example, if you see the dots that ping keep moving towards you, then you know they're chasing, so you should probably relocate, which can help catch them off guard. But if you see 2 dots are moving away and 1's moving towards you, then you know you have a one-on-one gunfight that you can safely take. If all of the dots are moving away, the team is booking it. Use this and communicate this when playing with the team. My teammates will tell you that as soon as I get a kill, I start calling out, his team is running, 2 are pushing towards us, one is above us, etc. Just letting them know whatever info that I receive, and it usually leads to a team wipe. If the ping has an arrow above it, then that means the player is above you, and if the arrow is below the red dot, then that means they're below you. This is something a lot of people surprisingly don't know as well, so just utilize this and communicate it to your team if you want to have more success. A good movement mechanic that has been in Call of Duty forever is the Strafe Jump, but now that slide canceling is back in the game, people don't use the Strafe Jump quite as often. Last year, the Strafe Jump Chow was the only movement option we had, and yet this year, it's really never used. By most people, at least I use it all the time. So for starters, a Strafe Jump is when you look either left or right before you jump, and then you'll look back to wherever you want to land, and it just helps you clear a much larger area. Now, when everyone's expecting you to slide cancel into a fight or creep walk while aiming down sights, you can hit them with a massive jump around a corner. This not only shatters their aim assist, as you usually jump straight past their aim assist area, but on top of that, you'll be able to shoot them before they even see you due to something that I've covered in the past called Peeker's Advantage. You can also use the strafe to jump onto areas that you otherwise wouldn't be able to make it to, and I remember learning this way back in 2010 on Black Ops Zombies trying to do barrier glitches. Shout out to anyone who was around back then, but it was very hard to learn at first, but after doing it a few times, you'll get used to it, I promise. You basically just want to look left or right as you're about to jump, and then look straight to where you want to land right as you hit the jump button. A lot easier to do if you have a controller that has paddles, or if you use bumper jumper for your controller layout. It is very hard to do on default if you're not playing claw. But if it is something you can do comfortably, please add this to your arsenal because you will become a much better player and a much harder kill. Tip number 11 is all about the new fan favorite perk, Mountaineer. Now this will be quick because a lot of people already know this, but for those who don't, when you have Mountaineer equipped, you can zipline from anywhere with a lower altitude, like near harbor, and land on prison or anywhere else basically without pulling your parachute. Now if you try this pre-game, it won't work because your perks won't be equipped, but once you have your loadout, if you land somewhere that's very low, you'll probably still break your legs, but at the zip by harbor or by control, you can land on prison, grandma's, bio, chem, factory, etc. without pulling your parachute. Mountaineer's a great perk for active players. As you can see here, I fell out of the helicopter without using my parachute, and even though I got a kill, you can easily get yourself into a bad situation just like this, so make sure you use it carefully. It is incredibly useful when you have the jump on someone below you and they're trying to get away, and having it equipped can win you games. Here's another tip for aggressive playstyles, and it's helpful when you don't have your perks or if you just don't want to run Mountaineer. When you're landing on a building with players on it, the last thing you want to do is pull your parachute and float slowly to your death. Instead, angle yourself to grab a ledge when landing. Not only do you completely skip the parachute animation by mantling, but you also won't be floating and exposed waiting to get beamed out of the sky. This is especially helpful if your team is fighting another team on that rooftop, as you can land behind the other team and they won't even hear your parachute. And before they know it, you're shooting them in the back. Now let's talk about everybody's favorite house on the island, and that's Grandma's house, which is a common call out in Call of Duty since the earliest days. It's usually the call out for the most popular houses on a multiplayer map, but Grandma's house on Rebirth Island is right in the middle of factory, prison, and living quarters, making it a very popular area for teams to stack and fight. Everybody knows that there are some jump spots on the house. In the background, you're seeing every possible jump that you can use to catch your opponents off guard, and comboing these jumps will leave your enemies lost. And the best part is, when you're making these jumps, there's barely any audio cues for them to hear you, so you're able to easily catch them with their backs turned. And for a bonus tip, just know I never use the staircase. There's just way too many unique jumps that can catch people off guard and can help me switch things up, especially if I'm in like a 1v4 situation. You can even use awnings on the outside of the windows and things like that for head glitches. The reason that this small house is so fun to be at is because of things like this. There's just so many different ways that it can go down. Doing whatever it takes to stay unpredictable is the best way to stay alive and get a lot of kills. So the more jumps and spots that you learn that other people aren't aware of, the better. And speaking of sound cues, it's important that we learn the distinct cues on the map. Now yes, the audio in this game is horrible, but if you listen specifically for certain sound cues, you don't really have to have pristine audio to know where your opponents are. So right here we get a metal ladder sound cue. I know the only way there's going to be a metal sound cue is if they're climbing the ladder in the lighthouse. The only other one nearby would be on top of Grandma's roof, but it didn't come from that direction. Now after I kill this guy, I hear that there's someone inside below me because it's more of a muffled, solid surface sound, whereas if they were outside it wouldn't be muffled and you would likely hear grass. In this clip, just pay attention to how the footsteps sound different when we're in the wooden room versus when we're in the next room. Now this player that's pushing me is in the room that has carpet. There's only one room on this level that has carpet, and those softer footsteps are what gave away where he was coming from. So as I waited for him, I then heard his teammate still walking on the tiles, so I knew he was going to be challenging me from the middle of the room. I then get pushed by a whole other team, and I know this guy's on my level because the audio has no sort of directional change. I also know he's not in the carpeted room because of what we just talked about. As his team panics and starts looking for me, I'm just listening to sound cues, and my favorite one is staircases. Every staircase that is not metal steps is gonna sound like this. You can only hear it for a second during this encounter, which is why I put a different clip up. But notice what I do when I hear that it's about 3 people on one staircase pushing me. I might be better than all of them put together, but if they're all in the same doorway, I'm not going to kill all of them. So I have to be smart and run out of here. I'll catch them later on in the map in a better situation. Continuing on with the tips that can be used in every single situation, I covered something in the past called jitter aiming. This is where as you run towards somewhere that an enemy may pop out from, you continuously spam your aim button while running forward. All this really does is ensure that your weapon will be ironed up and ready to shoot before theirs, even if they catch you off guard. It's especially great if you're running up a long staircase like the one inside of prison, because if they catch you in there, there's no running away, so you better be ready for the fight. Next up, the main reason I see my teammates die is because they don't do this one simple technique, shouldering. Shouldering is a well-known concept in many FPS games going way back, but most people don't actually use it. You can shoulder long lanes by continuously moving back and forth behind cover, and this can be used to gather info as to where your enemies are or aren't while you heal or reload. Or you can use this to bait your enemies into shooting and revealing their position. Stop running straight out onto a rooftop and instead start running out the door and running right back in. Maybe do it a couple of times, because if an enemy then shoots at you, they won't have enough time to kill you, and now you and your team know exactly where the enemy is. It also can help you get the jump on an enemy, as oftentimes after they see you shouldering, they run away and you can immediately get shots into them. And if there's anything you take from this video, shouldering may be the single most commonly useful tip I have that no one's using. Another good way to gather info and to catch enemies off guard is using doors. Every single time I go through a door, I turn and close it, not because I'm scared of being chased, but rather the opposite. If I close it and then the enemy bashes through the door, then I'll likely have an easy kill, assuming I get to some cover. If they don't chase me, I can turn and slam through the door myself to catch them off guard. And if they're inside of a building, oftentimes I'll close the door and then bash through it after figuring out where they are in the room. If I see them on the left side and then I close the door, once I bash through it, I'll be able to get the first shot on them now that I don't have to guess their whereabouts. This goes back to abusing peeker's advantage, which I will cover in a new video again soon, but just understand that the aggressive players will see the campers on their screen before the campers see them. And using doors is the easiest way to create peeker's advantage. The key is to close the door and then slide through it. Don't run through it, and don't bash it open and then aim. Just slide through it. It'll make you an impossible target to predict, and sometimes your opponents will lose you completely. The term thirsting originated in the early days of battle royales, and it's when you knock a player down and then kill them before killing the rest of their team. The reason it's known as thirsting is because if you do that, you're usually going to die to their teammates because you were so thirsty to get a kill. Instead of thirsting, try running away to plate up, regain health, reload, and reposition. Stop thirsting as soon as you get a knock, unless you know it's 100% safe. And even then, it's a bad habit. This is the main thing that allows me to kill fully stacked teams, because I find the first knock, I reposition and heal instead of thirsting. If I know there's multiple, or if I have low health after a fight, I'll wait to thirst the player until I know it's safe, and then I'll use the info from my minimap after that thirst to find the rest of their team. Thirsting a player is the most common mistake players make because they don't think they can handle fighting the rest of that team, so they get the first thirst and then they die. But they're happy because they got their kill. But what if I told you, instead of being happy with getting a kill and then dying, you could get 2 to 4 kills per fight if you reposition and heal after the first knock? The best part is, enemy teams never expect this. They're so used to people standing there to thirst and then loot that when they turn to find you and you're not there, they panic and start to run around looking for you. This gives you sound cues on them, it makes them easy kills for you, and it can be the difference between going from 5-5 to 12-0 in a match of Rebirth. Your KD may jump from a 1.0 to a 2.0 just from fixing this, and you'll complain about stackers a lot less. Now, before we get to the 2 best tips from this entire video, let's talk about a mental tip. Stop being surprised that teams are stacking. Stop complaining about stacking. Is it worse now than it was in the OG Rebirth? Of course it is, much worse, but I have learned over the past few weeks that I should just assume everyone is stacking, so now when I run into one person, it's a pleasant surprise. eyes, but if I get a knock and I assume his team is right behind him, I can do what I just explained: reposition, heal, reload, and get back into the fight. Just know that if they're stacking, you need a quick out. Don't overextend to fight a 1v4 in hopes that they can't aim. Instead, leave a door behind you or next to you so that you can run away when your health gets low and then reposition. Now, for those of you who made it to these final 2 tips, thank you so much for watching. Now I'm going to reward you with 2 tips that are going to help you become a much better player than anyone that you know. And the best part is these tips go hand in hand. If you can combo these, you can drop 20 kill games with ease. Tip number 20, always have smoke grenades in your loadout, and always try to have at least 2 on hand or in your inventory. Now you can of course use them to get out of sticky situations, but you can also use them to get into the fight. Start using smokes aggressively like you're seeing in these clips. If you got a knock on one player, but you can't cross over there to get the rest of the team because there's a giant open lane or a street, then smoke it and chase. Enemies never expect this, and they think the smoke is actually keeping them safe. The last thing that they expect is to see you and your teammates flying through the smoke to end their games. I also use them when I'm hurt after a fight and I know their teammates are pushing me. Throwing a smoke gives me a chance to get the hell out of there and once again reload, heal, and reposition. There's clearly a theme to these last few tips, and these are how I'm able to take 1v4s even against sweaty teams. Now lastly, tip 21, my favorite tip, especially for end games in ranked. This tip made one of my close friends genuinely think I was hacking, and I'm here to give you guys the secret sauce on seeing through smoke. This doesn't work throughout the entire game. It has to be in a situation where the gas is nearby. So I almost always use it end game, especially if I'm outnumbered. If you throw a smoke down when an enemy is nearby, watch the line of the gas behind the smoke. If you look closely, you can see doorways, loot, and even players through the smoke when the gas is behind it. This has led to me getting a ton of kills and wins with this strategy, and it's what I use to hit iridescent solo queuing. You don't get aim assist through the smoke, so mouse and keyboard players can absolutely abuse this, but for us controller players, try hip firing at the enemy if your aim is a little wonky in the smoke. You can also just use this for positioning, and you can angle this just right at times to see the enemy's feet or even their entire body at the line of the gas. And they can't see you at all unless the gas is behind you, and even then, I don't know if anybody else aside from me even uses this trick. I've never even seen anyone else do it intentionally, but there's my secret sauce, so use it wisely. Also, it does somewhat work throughout the game if there's loot on the ground, because you could see the loot on the ground through the smoke, so if an enemy steps over or walks in front of it, you can see the enemy's outline, but it's most efficient when the gas is close. And that's a brief rundown of the key tips that made me a 5KD Resurgence player, even with the stacking issues. If you made it this far into the video, comment down below letting me know what your favorite tip was, and if there's anything that you think I need to add to the next tips video that I forgot about. I guarantee this video will help anybody improve. But for the people who are going to claim I'm hacking or I get bot lobbies or whatever the case may be, let's let them continue to be salty. But for the people who actually want to improve, save this video to a playlist so that you can keep coming back and viewing it, because it's going to be hard to get all 21 tips added to your gameplay at once. So just focus on one tip at a time and keep coming back and checking in. That being said, my name is Rehtycs. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.